Hey guys! Today we're going to be talking about the African diaspora in Puerto Rico.
Freedom is
There are no exact statistics on the size of the Afro-Puerto Rican population today, but estimates put the Afro-Descendant community at between 22 and 65% of the general population, which could be anywhere from 700,000 to over 2 million people. The region with the highest concentration of Afro-Puerto Ricans is Loíza, a coastal town 20 minutes drive from the capital, San Juan.
Arguably, the majority of the most famous Puerto Ricans internationally tend to be of a lighter complexion, such as J-Lo, Bad Bunny and Ricky Martin. However, the reality is that Puerto Ricans are a very ethnically diverse population of mixed indigenous, European and African ancestry.
One of the first recorded people of African descent to arrive in Puerto Rico was Juan Garrido, who came in 1509 and was among the entourage of the Spanish conquistador Juan Ponce de León.
The Spanish began trafficking large numbers of West Africans to the island to work in gold mines and on ginger and sugar plantations. In 1664, the Spanish created an edict offering land to free Africans in non-Spanish colonies, including modern-day Jamaica and Haiti. These free black people migrated to Puerto Rico and settled in areas such as Santurce, Carolina, Canóvanas and Loíza.
Both free black and European migrants intermarried with the indigenous Taíno population, creating a culturally mixed society. There was another wave of Afro-descendant migration to Puerto Rico in 1815, following the Royal Decree of Graces, by which the Spanish crown encouraged migrants to relocate to Puerto Rico and develop industries on the island with the use of enslaved African labour.
Later that year, a slave code was published called El Código Negro, the Black Code, which detailed a list of punishments designed to prevent or quell a rebellion by enslaved Africans in Puerto Rico.
Products cultivated in Puerto Rico by an enslaved African workforce included sugar, coffee, cotton and tobacco. There were also influxes throughout the 18th century as control of the neighbouring island of Hispaniola, shared between modern-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic, came under the control of different powers, namely the French, the Spanish and of course the Haitians, following the Haitian Revolution of 1804. Political instability on the island triggered migration to Puerto Rico, including black and Afro-descendant settlers.
From the 1820s until 1868, there were a number of uprisings among the black population, including the 1868 uprising El Grito de Lares.
The Grito de Lares, spearheaded by Ramón Nemeterio Betances and Segundo Ruiz Belvis, was a major uprising against Spanish colonial rule in Puerto Rico. Although the insurrection was suppressed, it has gone down in the history of Puerto Rico's independence movement.
Slavery was eventually abolished in Puerto Rico in 1873. Former slave owners were compensated for their loss, and most of the former enslaved Africans continued working on the same plantations, albeit they were now paid for their labour.
Nowadays, March the 22nd is a national holiday in Puerto Rico and celebrated as Abolition Day to commemorate the day that slavery was abolished in 1873. Formerly a Spanish colonial territory, following the Spanish-American War of 1898, the island came under the control of the United States. The US established military rule, installed a governor, and limited local political activity. Afro-Puerto Rican politician and attorney Pedro Albizu Campos was one of several Puerto Rican leaders who participated in the nationalist pro-independence movement.
He was at one time the leader of the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party and worked tirelessly to denounce the American imperial presence on the island, inspired in part by the racist treatment he had received as a soldier in an African-American unit of the US Army.
Campos spent a total of 26 years in prison for attempting to overthrow the US government in Puerto Rico, and today there are schools, streets and community centres named after him.
Another Afro-Puerto Rican political leader of note is Dr. José Celso Barbosa, who was a physician, sociologist and political leader.
He is also the first documented Puerto Rican and the first person of African descent to earn a medical degree in the United States. Dr. Barbosa made significant contributions to medicine and public health in Puerto Rico, including an early form of health insurance. He served in the first civilian government in Puerto Rico organized by the United States and was in the first elected Puerto Rican Senate. By far one of the best known Afro-Puerto Ricans in history is Arturo Alfonso Schomburg, aka the father of Black history. Born in 1874 to parents of African and German descent, Schomburg was a historian, writer and activist who was an important figure in the Harlem Renaissance.
As a child in Puerto Rico, one of Schomburg's teachers claimed that Black people had no history, no heroes and no accomplishments. Determined to prove his teacher wrong, Schomburg resolved to document the accomplishments of Africans and the African diaspora worldwide.
He migrated to New York in 1891 and settled in Harlem. After experiencing racism in the US, he began to refer to himself as Afro-Puerto meaning Afro-Puerto Rican, which is now widely used today.
Schomburg began researching, documenting and writing about Caribbean and African American history. In 1911, he co-founded the Negro Society for Historical Research, uniting African, Afro-Caribbean and African American academics and intellectuals.
By the 1920s, Schomburg had collated an invaluable collection of art, books and artifacts relating to Black history worldwide. The New York Public Library purchased the collection in 1926, and Schomburg was appointed curator. The collection was named the Schomburg Centre for Research in Black Culture in his honour.
As well as being of great ethnological value, his collections serve to inspire and educate Afro-Latinos and African Americans on their own history, and provided a frame of reference for civil rights movements in the US and beyond. Sociological studies from the 1950s onwards suggest that Afro-Puerto Ricans are disproportionately represented in deprived neighborhoods, low-paid jobs, and the criminal justice system. Anti-Black racist attitudes also endure within Puerto Rican society.
One high-profile example made the headlines in 2017 when 11-year-old schoolgirl Alma Yariela Cruz fought against bullies who were hurling racist abuse at her, only for the principal of the school to have her arrested and subsequently expelled. The case received media attention across the island, and Alma inadvertently became a symbol of the injustices and institutional racism that Afro-Puerto Ricans continue to face.
In Puerto Rico today, there are plenty of clear vestiges of African cultural, musical and gastronomical influence on the island.
When it comes to food, for example, the heavy use of ingredients such as rice, okra, yam, pigeon peas and plantain all speak to the African influence on Puerto Rican cuisine. These can be found in staple dishes such as mofongo and arroz con gandules.
An enduring bastion of Afro-Puerto Rican culture is Loíza, a coastal town close to the capital San Juan, with a high Afro-Descendant population.
The town is synonymous with Afro-Puerto Rican culture, in particular for the genres of music and dance called plena and bomba. Bomba, in particular, dates back to the times of slavery, when enslaved Africans would use music and dance not only as a way to entertain themselves, but also to communicate with one another as they all spoke different languages. Today, Puerto Rico is internationally recognized for producing some of the best-known reggaeton stars worldwide, including Daddy Yankee, Bad Bunny, Wisin y Yandel, Nicky Jam, Anuel, Plan B, Ivy Queen and Farruko. Even Puerto Rican pop stars have dabbled with the genre, including Jhay, Ricky Martin, Marc Anthony and Fonzi.
While these artists' light skin has majorly factored into what has made them palatable to an international commercial market, Black and Afro-Descendant Puerto Ricans were some of the earlier pioneers of the genre, back when reggaeton was still considered subversive and was stigmatized.
Artists such as Tego Calderon, Don Omar, Glory, and the legendary Dominican production duo Looney Tunes are just some of the many Black artists that pioneered the genre before it went mainstream.
As Dr. Petra Rivera Rideau points out, while reggaeton heavily samples from hip-hop, reggae and dancehall, which are traditionally Black genres, it is white and light-skinned artists who are privileged and prioritized to perform it.
Famous Afro-Puerto Ricans not already mentioned include writer and poet Mayra Santos Febres, the actress, dancer and activist Sylvia Del Villar, baseball player Roberto Clemente, feminist, LGBTQ and human rights activist Ana Irma Rivera Lacen, boxer Tito Trinidad, and artist Samuel Lind.
That's it for our video on Black history in Puerto Rico. If you enjoyed that, then please do check out the other videos on the channel. And for a daily dose of Black history content, find me on Instagram at Freedom Is Mine Official. See you next time.
Freedom.